Hey everyone, and welcome to another podcast of Essential Podcast. We're excited to have another episode today and talking a little bit about how small businesses can gain larger market shares with all the different competition that's out there. We're super excited to hear from our guest, Diane. She's with Zen Change Marketing and is going to be able to provide us with some amazing expertise. So to dive right in, Diane, if you could introduce yourself and your company a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. I'm happy to be here. So I'm Diane Moura. I have been in marketing and business for a few decades now. So I started my career in corporate America and was traveling around the world doing consulting and helping larger businesses with their marketing and operations, and then decided that I wanted to launch an agency. So I launched Zen Change, and as with anything, it kind of started with just me and then me and one other person, and then we sort of grew and grew. And so now we have a 20-member team, and we focus on consulting with small and medium-sized businesses, particularly in the regulated space, legal, healthcare, cannabis, wine and spirits, and we do a lot of work with home services as well.
That's super cool. It's definitely a unique niche that you found yourself in. Did that come from prior experience, or did you guys find your way into it?
It was, we started to see part of it was, starting in South Florida, we just had, a lot of those industries were here. So that sort of organically grew, and we just developed specialties in those areas. And then we realized over time that we really were doing something different. So when we're working with attorneys, we're very conscious of we have to adhere to bar rules. So you can't just say anything when you're an attorney, and there's certain things that you have to get approval for. So and if you work with the wrong agency, you can put your license at risk, be at risk of fines. We realized working with healthcare that even though people think of HIPAA as being something more for the practice itself. But when you think about it, your marketing agency, if they have your email list, that is considered PHI or personal health information. So you have to be very careful how you use that. So we got our entire team HIPAA certified so that we'd be able to, understand the nuances of dealing with healthcare. And then obviously cannabis and wine and spirits have their own sets of regulations. And then we just kind of organically were doing a lot of work with trades, and we're having a lot of success and getting traction and helping them find leads. So that became another one of our verticals as well.
There you go. I mean, you guys cover. I mean, it sounds like you guys cover a lot of stuff, but you're really good at focusing in on it at the same time and making sure you're providing those services. With that, narrowing in on that niche and those services that you guys had, as you've grown the company, what kind of role have you played in that?
Well, like most founders, when you start, you're kind of, the old chief cook and bottle washer, like you're doing everything, right? And then I learned over the years that we could actually grow and be more effective the more that I was able to focus more outward, and then within the agency to kind of try to guide my leaders on strategy. So, I've hired some really good leaders. I have, really, I think we've got an excellent team. They're all very smart. They all know their stuff. And so, giving them the latitude to, make the decisions and to, do what they need to do to make our clients successful is, really, I think, a key to success. And then, my role as a leader needs to be, doing this type of thing, being on podcasts and, being on LinkedIn and networking and, being kind of top of funnel for my brand, which is what is a key success factor for any entrepreneur. And then providing strategic guidance for, my company from my team. And then I'll also take on fractional CMO roles for certain strategic clients. So, not a ton because there's only me. So I usually have, somewhere between 3 and 5 CMO clients at any given time. But that's really where I'm trying to focus my energy. And, the team is really good at making sure that we're delivering.
And when you do those fractional CMO roles, or even when your normal team is working with these companies, what kind of specific services, diving a little more into that, do you offer?
Sure. Well, so a fractional CMO is literally the CMO of a company, only, fractional is basically a fancy word for part-time. So the idea is that for the price of a middle manager who you would hire full-time, you can get a much more, I'll call it seasoned, um, expert who can come in and lead your marketing team on a part-time basis. So that could either be the fractional CMO managing the client's marketing team, and literally managing. They are in the role, or it could be, on the other extreme, it could be for some smaller clients, I've done what kind of feels a little bit more like coaching for them. So it's like a much lighter um, fractional CMO role. So I had a CEO who came to me as an example and said, look, I just need someone to, I need a sounding board. My team is not senior enough. And I'm trying to, I'm in the middle of trying to figure out if we're going to enter new states, and I need to have somebody that I can, bounce those growth ideas off of. And so I'm not directly managing that team. I'm more kind of coaching them, and then, kind of work being that sounding board for him. And then we also have a model where literally we can outsource your entire marketing department. So, I can be the CMO and my team can be the delivery team. Now, obviously, I'm not charging to manage my own team, but it's more of a strategy role in that case. So it really depends on the client, but your CMO is responsible for growth essentially for the company. So they're looking at, top of funnel opportunities. They're looking at making sure that, all of the analytics and the metrics are in place to measure the success of your marketing. They're coming up with the ideas, the strategy, vendor relationships for, potential tools that could help, getting all of the processes. And, I've worked with a lot of clients if they don't have their SOPs in place, and they're so, because obviously having run an agency, I have the knowledge of what all of the processes need to look like, and we've already done, a lot of the testing on, different tools and things like that. So I can kind of bring that like out of the box to the table, and if a client wants to build that themselves, then I can help them do so, or they can just say, hey, you handle the whole marketing department, and you deliver everything, and then we do that as well. So it really depends on the client what that model is going to look like.
Yeah, I love how many different variations and services you offer to really fit it to what the client is wanting. Trying to imagine, when you guys get in there, you guys have your hold, either, being the marketing or assisting them in their marketing. As I mentioned today, we're really trying to dig into how you guys are helping these businesses, small, medium, really gain greater market share. So I guess diving deeper into those marketing practices that you guys are exploring, that you guys are implementing. Would you be able to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, right now I think it's no secret that the economy is a little soft. So I think it's creating a lot of uncertainty, a lot of discomfort with several businesses, even those who are not directly impacted by tariffs. Everyone is still indirectly impacted, and this is not a political conversation by any means. It's just a fact that there's more uncertainty out there. So when there's uncertainty, your clients are, they'll take longer to make a decision. They may not have the comfort level to start with as large of a budget. They want to start in a little bit slower. Your marketing needs to adjust to that. And, one of the things that I always tell small business owners is the number one thing that you can do for your marketing is to focus on your personal brand, because as a leader, it's really your obligation to be top of funnel for your company. So, we work with a lot of clients on their personal brand. So, we'll help them with their LinkedIn is obviously the clear one. Depending on the business, might be their Instagram, helping them to, write thought-provoking articles so we can ghostwrite that for them. So you've got your social media, you have, writing, you have, getting out on podcasts. So that's something that we help business owners with as well. Video is huge. Video is important for your personal brand as well as for your business. All of the social media algorithms are favoring video, and it's just a great way as well for a potential client to get to know you before they know you, kind of get a feel as to, do I really want to take that step and connect with you? So we have, some of our clients want to DIY their videos on their phone. That's fine. We can do all the post production and the editing and make it look good. We have other clients where they just, unless we are there doing a shoot for them, they're going to get distracted and they're not going to get it done. A lot of attorneys are, they're busy, they're in court a lot. So what we'll do is we'll say, okay, once a quarter, we're coming in and we're bringing the equipment. We're going to prep you for, all the things that the topics that you'll want to talk about. And we kind of give them some guidance there. And usually once we get them going, they're good. The litigators especially are very good at just getting in front of the camera and talking. Some of the transactional attorneys, sometimes we have to do more of an interview style with them to, get them a little bit more comfortable on camera. But regardless, we got to get them on camera. And if you're really reluctant, there's, AI avatars and there's all sorts of things we can do, but there's kind of nothing that beats like what you and I are doing right now and actually, having a real human conversation. So that's really important to make sure that you get that very relatable educational video content. And then the other thing for any SMB that has a local presence, so, it could be doctor's office, could be attorney, et cetera, anyone who has a local presence, right now, really doubling down on your Google business profile. So we do a lot of work to help our clients with SEO in general, but also, local SEO tends to be the lowest hanging fruit to help you get found. And so making sure that your profile is not only fully built out and that you have a process in place so that you're getting those 5-star reviews, because that is very, very important, not only to conversion. So if people are looking up your business, you want to see a profile and you need to check yours regularly. Because we've got clients where, sometimes all of a sudden their review rating isn't all that great. They didn't even know, they weren't checking. And sometimes we can go in and we look and, the client will say, well, these people who reviewed us, they weren't even our customers. Because that happens sometimes. People get confused, or sometimes you have a competitor like pulling a fast one. So, we'll go in and we'll open cases with Google and get those removed for them so we can restore their rating. And that's really important because people are checking you out. But it also makes a difference as to how Google is going to rank your Google business profile. And if I know you're familiar with the map pack, or, when you're searching on Google, kind of the anatomy of the search is, right at the top, you're often going to have local service ads. So if your business has is in a category where you can run local service ads, those are, pretty cost-effective form of getting found because they are pay-per-lead and not pay-per-click. And then after that, depending on the page, you'll either have the AI snippet where that's where, SEO optimization will help you get into the AI snippet. And then after that, you're going to have the map pack, right? You're going to have your any of the Google business profile listings, and there are 3 organic listings that you can get into on page 1. So if not only your Google business profile is optimized and you're posting and you're using you're using geo keywords on your profile, but then also if your website is optimized for local as well, which is something else that we do, Google kind of makes that handshake and understands that, oh, you are a local business, you match the search term, and therefore I'm going to show your profile. So the performance of your website does impact the performance of your Google business profile So they're connected, but you do have to optimize them somewhat separately. But that's kind of the low-hanging fruit to getting found. And then obviously anything that you're doing on social media, you can, generate connections there and, use your social media like you would be doing networking, which is also very important for a small business. But it is online networking. So, you can't just what we say post and ghost, like you got to work it. And if you don't have the time to work it, then hire somebody to work it because, you need to be making those connections. You need to be spending time commenting. And the idea is to try to get people off the platform. So if you're, let's say on LinkedIn, you're making new connections, you're starting DM conversations with people, you're getting them engaged, and then you want to say, "Hey, let's talk about this further. Why don't we jump on a Zoom?" And it's because now you're forming that networking relationship. So it's really just the way to find people, but you have to get them off the platform and talk to them.
I really like that. Not only find them, but make that contact, make that impression. I mean, you guys are offering all kinds of services here. I'm curious, once you set some of these things up, what are some like the main challenges or hurdles that you see businesses have to overcome?
I mean, I hate to give the old consulting. It depends, but I mean, it does depend on the business itself. I mean, look, the marketing, like a lot of things, it's really a balance of time versus money. So the more time you have, the more you can DIY. The more as your business grows and you have more disposable income, then you can pay for somebody to do it. But regardless, it's got to get done. So I think procrastination or like not being comfortable jumping in and getting it done is one of the biggest challenges that SMB founders have. And again, it completely depends on the type of business, but sometimes people can get into as much as, and look, I'm a big proponent of networking. I think, especially when you're starting, it is the number one thing that you can do to get found. Join a really good networking group and work it. Don't just go to the meetings, but use it as an opportunity to have those one-to-one follow-ups with people. I think pre-COVID, a lot of us used to be driving all over the city and, spending, many hours to go have coffees with people. Now we all got used to Zoom. So it's not like it's a huge time commitment, but you should be meeting two new people every week and having a separate one-to-one meeting with them. And if you rinse and repeat that over time, you will grow your business because the idea is you want to try to give people something when you're meeting with them. So give them an introduction without the expectation that you're going to get anything in return. It'll just happen. If you keep giving, and the more that you're having these meetings, so if you meet with, two people every week, week after week after week, the size of your network is going to grow tremendously. And each new person that you meet with, you'll ask them, who can I introduce to you? What type of professional would be a good referral partner for you? And then you now look into your network, which has grown, and you have one of those people, you make the introduction, and then that's it. It's not like I'm making an introduction and I'm expecting something, but there's just the general, I'm a big believer in the law of reciprocity. And if you just keep giving, it will come back. People will refer business back to you as well because you're going to be top of mind. You're going to be that go-to person with the great network. So that's doing it in person. And really a lot of like what you might do on LinkedIn is just translating that into an online environment. And I know a lot of our clients don't have time to do that, so we take that first step for them. So we'll actually engage on their behalf and help make those connections with referral partners. And then when it gets to the point where there should be a meeting, obviously the client has to do it, but we've at least done the heavy lifting. But I think it's the procrastination, like not spending the time. When times are good and you've got a lot of referrals and leads coming in, it's easy to get complacent. But, right now we're in a situation in the economy where I think, you're just going to have to work your top of funnel more. So don't procrastinate.
Yeah, got to get started eventually, right?
Exactly.
And I mean, you guys are obviously the marketing masters, and I think you've shared some things on a broad basis for all kinds of different companies. But are you guys applying these things for yourself, or I mean, focusing on, your company's agency model? How are you guys doing your marketing? How are you guys finding new companies to help?
So, it's funny. We always, I'm in a networking group with a number of other agency owners, and we use it as an opportunity to, always make sure that we're, kind of on top of what's going on, especially with, AI and everything that's happening that's kind of disrupting everyone's space right now. Um, so we always like joke and kind of say like we're a little bit like the shoemaker's kids. So it's like we're the ones with running around with no shoes because we're so focused on our clients, which is true. Like I don't think I've spoken to an agency owner who's not in that situation. But when we have time, we do, I do try to be top of funnel. So I still network. I still work my LinkedIn. I'm still out on podcasts. I have my own podcast. So I'm, interviewing business owners there as well. We do a lot on our social media. We nurture prospects through email marketing. So I mean, we do a fair bit. We're very fortunate in that we've over the years we've developed some really good relationships with a lot of clients and a lot of referral partners, and we do get a lot of referrals. So we get a lot that with us organically, and then we're out there doing some of the, both online and offline networking is really big for us. We do some email marketing, that type of thing.
And I keep hearing a lot. I mean, a lot of these benefits of having that community, or you have your group of fellow agency owners. How can people go out and find things like that for their business so that they can make those connections?
Yeah, so there's different groups that I think that you should be a part of, and each one's going to form have a different role with your business as a leader. So one group is a category exclusive networking group. And that's one where you can be confident that within that group that you're going to be very focused. Everyone's going to be focused on referrals. So it's kind of like you've just added a sales force. And when they think of, I'm in one of those, and when anybody in that group thinks of marketing, they think of me just because I'm the only marketer in the group. So there's absolute value in that. Um, Up until recently, I didn't see the value of being in a group of people who do the same thing as I do. But what I've learned since joining a group like that, so I'm part of the Agency Owner Network, which if you go to my profile on LinkedIn, which is Diane Moura, Diane Moura. In case you're looking for me, just hit me up, give me a DM. I'll send you the link to introduce you to that group if you are an agency owner. And if you're not, if whatever your industry is, find a group of people who do what you do, because even though on the surface it may feel like you're competitors, but everyone does things a little bit differently. There's a real value in being in a group with people who get you. They're going through some of the same challenges, and you can bounce ideas off of. So, where else but within a group of fellow agency owners could I, bring a potential client scenario to them and say, hey, how would you tackle this? And have people who actually get it and can give valuable advice. Or as we're all going through and we're really making sure that we're taking best advantage of AI for our agencies, like being able to share, hey, I just used this tool, I did this looks really cool, I tried this one didn't really work as well. And so there's absolute value in that. I have a friend of mine who runs a roofing company, and she's in an industry group with a bunch of fellow roofers. She gets a lot of value out of that, even though technically they're even in the same geography. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but you really. And then the third group is more of a mastermind. So making sure that you're in a group with people who are at your level, with whom you can be 100% transparent about your financials, your HR challenges, your everything else as a leader. Because one of the things that I spent many years in corporate America, and one of the benefits of being in corporate is you're surrounded by a lot of experts in all of the disciplines that you need to lead. So if I needed help with HR, I would go to the HR department. If I needed help with legal, I would go to our in-house counsel. You don't have that when you're a business owner, and maybe you've got a sticky personnel situation and you want to make sure you don't put your foot in it, so you you need to bounce that off of someone. So having the network of people who can be really like your board of directors, and your coaches, I think that is super valuable as well.
There you go. I mean, that's some amazing advice there. I love how you almost put into categories of the different types of communities and different types of things. And I mean, that I think that could benefit agency owners, business to customer, company, all kinds of groups, even personal brands and individual people. That's really, really cool. I'd love to then, as you're talking about this growth, kind of end on you personally as a leader. You've had to lead this big old team. You're leading other companies in marketing. How would you say that your personal skills come in, and not necessarily business skills, but your personal skills that you identify with? Why are those important?
Well, I mean, I've always been a very kind of type A, passionate, driven kind of individual. And I think that that's really served me well because as an entrepreneur, one of I think there's a couple of key traits that will drive success. One is focus, which so not getting distracted by all of the millions of things going on, but making sure that you start every day with what am I going to accomplish today? And then the other is just, I think continuous learning and being tenacious about learning as well. I think general tenacity is huge for an entrepreneur because there's going to be so many obstacles in your way, and you just have to say, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try something else, and not be brought down by it at all. And tenacity of learning, I think, has really served me well. So, I was around when the internet became a big deal. And, I saw how we had to shift business at that time. And now I'm seeing what's happening with AI, and it is massively bigger. I'm super excited about it because I'm actually very motivated by learning. And so, I'm personally doubling down. My team is doubling down. We have an AI task force within the company that is always, testing new tools. We're meeting weekly. We're checking like what's working, what's not working, and we're continuously looking at ways that not only we can improve so that we can deliver more value to our clients for the same cost, but also how can we help our clients do the same? So, being able to help our clients put an AI chatbot on their site that is customized for them and could help them, be kind of part of a lead magnet as an example. So, and it's constantly changing. So it's something that, we got it. And I'm one of those nerds where I don't read fiction. I only consume content about business and marketing. So, which I guess makes me kind of boring, but I love it and I get really excited by it. So, but I think those are a couple of traits that have served me well, and I think other successful entrepreneurs that I've met as well.
There you go. Well, thank you, Deanne, for all the amazing responses, knowledge, things that you shared with us today. Um, it's interesting how when it comes to marketing, these things really apply to everyone in all stages of businesses and things like that. So, for those that see this and maybe are interested in the services of your company or interested in reaching out to you about those communities, things like that, what would you say is the best way to get in contact?
Well, a couple of ways. I think I mentioned my LinkedIn. So if you're looking for me on LinkedIn, it's Diane Moura, Diane Moura. And then our agency website is Zen Change. So it's Zenchange.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's definitely a treat. Before we end, is there anything else you feel like you would want to share?
Now, I just, I think I talked a little bit about AI. Don't let it pass you by. I think we are at like a really interesting intersection right now where if you double down, you could get a competitive advantage. Think of it. Big corporations move slowly. SMBs are nimble. You have a wonderful opportunity to just jump ahead, surge forward, and I would say, don't let that pass you by.
There you go. Well, thanks so much, Dan, and thank you everyone for tuning in and checking out the podcast. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, Quig.